All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the show. Glad to have all of you back, and glad to be back myself. Joining me today is my host and co-host Peter from Gonna Go For It. Welcome back
With internet this time.
with internet.
Let's
Yeah.
hope let's hope it stays that way. If not, I want everyone to write to the company called Ziggo in the Netherlands and ask them to pick a different day and time to do their maintenance because this is starting to piss me off. I mean,
Ziggo sounds like an '80s band.
how many times has this happened already on your show? It's always on your show.
Well, I don't know about
That
always, but it happens sometimes.
when my internet cuts out, it's during your show. I haven't had it at any other time.
Ziggo top 10 songs for the last 3 weeks. I
Yes.
could see it now. That would have been like an '80s band, Ziggo, I think. And then also we have Nestlig, one of my editors. Welcome back.
Hello, good to be back. And I also have to say I had similar issues with Ziggo as well. So suddenly they are out, and I don't know why. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have
Ziggo, the 80s band,
oh
famous
sheesh.
famous for their hit song Video Killed the YouTube Star.
We have oh shoot, who is my I can't believe I'm blanking on the name. Electric company. What are they called? Southwestern. There we go. Yeah, Southwestern Electric Power Company, SWEPCO. There we go. That's what we call them, SWEPCO, because it's Southwestern Power. So yeah, that's who we use. I can't believe I blanked on the name. I'm always giving them money, so I should at least know who I'm giving money to. Uh, so personally, funny enough, I'm going to say that, and then I'm going to get punished for saying it by the electricity gods in a second. But I actually living in here where I am now, I really don't or haven't had any electrical issues since I've worked here or lived here. Well, not worked here. I haven't had any since I've lived here. Which when I moved in at the start of this year, it's been pretty good. So, all right, let's see. Who all do we have today? We have Brian Stevens, Nan, and that's everybody. That's everybody who's in the chat. Hello, Professor Wheat. My ego has grown 3 sizes since all my students call me. Well, they call me Professor Wheat via email. Uh, None of them say Professor Wheat during class, mostly because none of them answer when I call on them during class. So there's that. I'm just kidding, mostly. But anyway, maybe we'll get some more people in here. So I have been, I guess what's been going on in the news? We on this channel, we have some news. We put out our first scripted video in like 2 months. That's because I've been very busy. The First, RJ and I are working on Rocks Volume 2. So I wanted to finish editing Chapter 1 before I did a new video, before I wrote a new script. So finished editing Chapter 1, sent it back to RJ. As I was editing Chapter 1, I got a script from Professor Dave, which was like 40 pages. So I edited that, sent that back to him, continued on with Chapter 1, and then finally finished editing Chapter 1. And then we did the script. And now The Grasshopper's Tale is out, which came at a very opportune time, which is why I included some last minute edits. Originally, the video did not include the little reference to the Haitians and Trump and Vance, but I included that last minute because I thought this is too good of an opportunity to pass up. So, so why not? I thought it was fun. I do love throwing a little bit of politics in there. Oh, we got Katina Pack Bays, Savage, Bivalve Alpinist, Cobra. Welcome, welcome. Oh yeah, we're about to do our predictions. Yeah, we'll get to our predictions when we get to the video. So the Grasshopper's Tale was fun to write because it does have some political undertones, only because there are people who are very obsessed with the concept of races and the concept of there being separate, distinct groups of people, each with their own distinct like mental capacities and whatnot, which just isn't true. There's just no evidence for that, and we go through a
Well,
bunch of different ways we know that in the video.
you say that, but wait until you spend some time on the interwebs trying to debunk the whole "they're eating our pets" thing, which I have done.
Been.
Which I have done this week.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to show these people that that particular city is actually very happy with the influx of immigrants because they ended up saving the city. And even though I had the articles to present that that was a thing, they still said that they were illegal immigrants, which isn't the case.
Which they aren't.
And
Yeah,
that
they are not.
And that they were ruining the city. Well, no, they're not.
So
I mean,
there's two really funny, or I guess three really funny things about that. Because one, first, as you said, they're not illegal. They are perfectly legal residents. They were moved there by the United States government as part of the immigration parole program, something like that. But it is a program that you apply to as an immigrant, and then you come here. So you get approved. If you get approved for it, that is, if you get approved. If you get approved, they move you here and they put you in a particular city with other immigrants, right? Okay, so this is a program that our government does, and actually a lot of these people were brought here under the Trump administration. So back between 2016 to 2020, they were brought here by this program, and as a result, like, you know, this was happening on Trump's watch. Which is fine because it's a legal immigration program. And conservatives in general love to say, hey, we're fine with immigration so long as it's legal immigration. Well, okay, here's your test case. Here's a bunch of legal immigrants. And the conservatives have lost their minds. They're saying that they're eating pets, that they're increasing violent crime, that they are increasing communicable diseases, all of which have been debunked at this point. Actually, the woman who made the Facebook post that, or one of the things, there were a couple of things kind of simultaneously that kicked off this panic. One of them was a woman posted on Facebook from Springfield, Ohio, who said not that she saw it, but that she knew someone who saw this happen, which is definitely how information works, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are totally going to have a great, strong argument when the argument comes not from you and not from the person you heard it from, but from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty funny. Additionally, you have to remember Haitians are proportionally, yes, Savage Bivalve Alpinist Cobra points out, illegal is conservative for non-white. Yes, very true. So another thing that happens is the Haitians are proportionally more Christian as a nation than the United States is. They are, I believe it's 87% Christian, whereas the U.S. it's like 72%, something like that. So it's they are proportionally more Christian than we are as a country, largely being Protestant, although Catholicism also makes up a large proportion of them. So one of the stories, the news clips, one of the news clips that I watched about Springfield, Ohio, is that for the first time in years, according to one of the church's pastors, the congregation has increased. The congregation of this guy's church has been decreasing, year over year. And finally, now that all these Haitian immigrants are here, the congregation has suddenly increased massively. Because these people are Christians. They're almost all Christians. So that was kind of wild. The foreman at the major job in that city, as I understand, is working at this big factory. The foreman there said he wishes that there were more Haitians working at the factory because they're much better workers than the people from Ohio who typically work there. So just every part of the story is hilarious and absolutely implodes the narrative.
To add to my story, the guy that I was battling is the son of immigrants, Cuban immigrants to be specific.
Oh.
And he also told me a couple of weeks ago that he grew up and all his childhood friends were kids of illegal immigrants who were very fine people. Suddenly, all of that changed when the Haitians started eating cats and dogs, which they didn't eat cats and dogs.
Yeah.
So he was in favor of kicking them out, and I said, so we should include your parents too? And no, my parents were legal. Yes, so are these.
Right. It's the story. It just keeps changing.
Can't win.
You know, every time it gets knocked down, they change it to something else, and it's kind of fascinating watching how fast the story has changed, because typically stories like this take a long time, right? Someone makes a claim, everyone just kind of forgets about it. But in this instance, you know, Vance made a claim, it immediately got debunked. So he made a new claim, that immediately got debunked. So he made another new claim. It's been fascinating watching this unfold in real time.
It's just the fact that these people want to hate. And let's face it, these people want to hate non-white people. That's just a fact at this point. You cannot pretend otherwise. And if they cannot find a reason to hate them, they will make up a reason to hate them just on the spot.
It's
also the case that
if they're looking for people to blame everything on. I mean, this is something we had in Europe.
True.
And didn't end well.
Yeah, we have a party here that's trying to bring that back, as it were. You know, they want to make it great again, in a sense. So, you know.
It's also the case, like if there is like someone from England staying illegal in the United States and does something horrible, these people just don't care. They won't make a big point about immigration and all that. They will perhaps agree that the act was horrible, this person did, but they won't say like, oh, let's ban all people from England. They won't say that. But it's only a moral panic when it's the wrong skin color. That's the only variable when they will take this into a moral panic. Yeah.
You'll have to wait until the British person starts talking in order to identify that they're British. You need something that you can actually act on when you see it. So you need someone with a different color. Those are the wrong people. That's how this works. You can't just randomly start mixing in white people. That doesn't work with these maggots.
Yeah, and so I was very happy that the video came out when it did, because not only do we get to show that this is like unfounded racism, but also the concept of race is not rooted in biology. So we get to debunk kind of both of these in one go, and I thought that was kind of cool. The next video will be much less, as far as I'm aware, politically focused. Next one's the fruit fly's tale, which is about the evolution of Hox genes in invertebrates. So, you know,
I love it. I love it when I watch this, that I learn so much about the animal world. I mean, who knew that grasshoppers were political and fruit flies weren't? I mean,
I guess it depends on which grasshoppers you know. Some of them are neutral, or some are centrists, I guess. So
yeah.
But I guess all fruit flies are centrists. So anyway, I've also been, as I was saying right before we went live, so I'm teaching a couple of classes this semester, and both of them are like a gen ed physics class, and it's called Foundations in Science. And I really am trying to make the class live up to the name, because the textbook itself, the chapters are relatively short. It's really not, it doesn't take very long to read through the chapter, but I have for each chapter like 4 lectures, which I kind of broke down into 3, because it's 3 actual lectures and then 1 review, because that's kind of how to break it down. But that's like 3, and really each class is about an hour, so it's like a little over 3 hours of content about these relatively short chapters. And so to lengthen the chapters themselves, I've added a lot of stuff to the PowerPoints that I work with, so that Would I debate Andrew Wilson? I don't know who that is. Is that a creationist?
Who?
Or is there a guy about race realism or something?
Is it gross?
I don't know. I don't know. Like I can only I can only guess.
I have no idea. I don't know who that. Have we? What was the name of the guy who was bald? Who logical, plausible, probable, whatever. Whatever happened to that guy? Oh,
Yeah, we don't know.
Mr.
He-
Cliff
he
for
felt-
€2. Moo.
Moo indeed. Yeah. Moo
Yes.
indeed.
What'd you say? What happened to him?
So he dropped off completely for no apparent reason. So I do know that before he joined the beautiful world of Christian apologists on YouTube, that he lived in his truck for a very long time. So maybe he moved
Oh.
back to. I
Well,
don't know.
I mean, living in a truck is, that's nobody's fault. That's, I wish that nobody had to live in their truck. But anyway, I don't
Yes,
know whatever happened to
but
him. I just,
they
he just
didn't.
dropped off.
They didn't rent their truck probably from one of the largest companies in the United States. U-Haul? He lived in a U-Haul truck.
Oh,
So-
okay. Well, I mean, still, I hate for that to happen to anybody. I wish no one had to live in a car. But
In all
anyway,
fairness,
so
if you had a close encounter with LPP, not too sure if you would say that, Jackson. I mean,
little PP,
little PP.
he and I were like at one point we James of Modern Day Debate was like talking to the two of us. He had us in like DMs about having a debate, and it just fell through. It just never happened. So I never ended up.
I think there are 3 or
Andrew
4
is an
debates.
apologist? Okay. Well, I don't know. Does he? Andrew Wilson. I don't. Does he do like? Does he do creationism? Is he like a creationist? I don't know if I'm aware of him. Anyway, so as I'm working on this these PowerPoints, the PowerPoints themselves are relatively short, but so basically what they cover is like the process of science in the first chapter, as well as the history of science, and there's a section on pseudoscience which I turned into its own lecture because I have a little bit to say about pseudoscience. Given that we've been doing this for 8 years now, a little bit to say. And then the second chapter is on like Newtonian motion, then energy, which is what we're on right now, then heat and temperature, sound, electricity, and then space. And I'm having to dive deep because my background is zoology. Both of my degrees are in zoology. And so, Savage by Malvalpinus Cobra for $4.99. Nobody should have to live in a truck. They should live in a van down by the river. Very true. I'm not wearing a belt, so I can't do the van down by the river. More about
Honestly,
Well, I don't really debate
I am
anybody
of
about
the
social
age.
issues.
I'm of the age that van life was a thing.
Yeah.
Remember those vans with the psychedelic paint jobs on the side?
Mhm. Oh yeah.
I even
Hey,
had
that's
one.
like the Scooby Doo van. They had a psychedelic paint job.
Yeah, I had one.
You had a Scooby Doo van?
Not a Scooby Doo van, but I did have a van with
Okay.
spoilers and a bed and a bar and well,
Okay.
it was handy at times.
Johnny V's reply to Savage Cobra and the steady diet of government cheese.
Oh,
have you
Oh,
ever
no.
tasted government cheese, Jackson?
I don't know if I have. What? I have no idea.
Do you know the story behind the government cheese?
Tell me the story of government cheese.
I don't remember exactly when, but it was like a period of time in the government, like hugely subsidized milk.
Okay.
And eventually they got too much milk. They didn't know how to dispose of it, so they just made a whole bunch of cheese to preserve it. and eventually they filled an entire cave full of this of this cheese, and then just to dispose of it, they just gave the people free cheese, government
We do
cheese
like
for the
government
people.
subsidized cheese.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Pseudoscience like flat Earth. Yeah, I actually do talk about that. Well, not in that chapter. So in the first chapter, when I talk about pseudoscience, I discuss. Um, well, the majority of the lecture really isn't about pseudoscience per se. Pseudoscience is kind of is what I go to at the end of it. What the point of the lecture is about is looking at different sources of information and asking yourself questions to figure out whether or not this source is credible. That's what the like I'd say like 80% of that lecture is about. It's about what questions can you ask, how can you determine if someone is giving you credible information, if they're not, how do you tell secondary from primary sources, all that sort of stuff. That's what that lecture is really about. But I also, because I love pseudoscience, I do also talk about a variety of different types of pseudoscience. So I talk about anti-vax pseudoscience, and I show a couple of different charts. How you have a very high degree of, well, really, I guess it's the other direction. You have a very high degree of like outbreaks of some particular disease for some time, and then the vaccine gets introduced, and suddenly, whoosh, the outbreaks just drop right off. And I show this for like 4 different vaccines, like measles, mumps, rubella, stuff like that. How you have lots and lots of cases, then whoosh, polio. It's another one. I show a study on astrology
Jackson,
where these.
Jackson,
Hmm?
sorry to interrupt, but guess who joined the chat again and just retracted the message? So in order
didn't even
to
see it.
make sure, because you can retract the message, Premium Akai,
Okay.
but I can do this and just put it on screen because it's still there. Jackson Wheat, when you talk about pseudoscience, are you talking about your own nonsense that you spread around? I mean, still believing in 160 old junk claim of evolution is just pathetic. I should read this in Jackson Wheat when you are talking about pseudoscience.
Oh, is that Otangelo?
That is Otangelo.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I
So-
mean, to me, it seems very fitting he's using a toucan as his icon.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but if I hear his voice, yeah, it sounds like a
would come out of a
toucan
toucan.
cartoon animal would make. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Another type of pseudoscience I talk about is astrology. There was a fun study that was done in which these researchers took what was they took a 50, I believe it was 50 data, no, yeah, it was 50 data points about different people who were born at different times of the year, and they presented these 50 data points. Now, everything about a person except, of course, when they were born, what time of the year they were born. And the reason was they presented these 50 data points about these anonymous people to these professional astrologers, and they would ask the astrologers, all right, tell us what month they were born, or what their star sign is or whatever, based on the data. Well, the expert astrologers, professional astrologers, only got the star signs correct at about the rate of random chance. So not very good.
I think they also did the experiment almost the opposite way around. Like almost they gave people the exact same horoscope regardless of what birth of date, and they asked them how accurate was this horoscope to you. And again, it's pretty much the same accuracy regardless of when you are born, because the predictions are so general. It applies to pretty much anybody. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I do mention briefly young Earth creationism and and how we know that evolution's true. I have like one slide where I discuss it. So very briefly, um, there's a couple of those. Actually, I have a Venn diagram at the end of that where one circle is pseudoscience, one circle is paranormal, and then one circle is um, conspiracy theories. Because there are really so many different directions that you can go from pseudoscience. You could really do an entire class just on pseudoscience, you know? Um, and so I wanted to show how pseudoscience overlaps with paranormal and conspiracy theories. And at the center of those, I put Ancient Aliens, because Ancient Aliens is kind of a cross between conspiracy theories, paranormal, and pseudoscience. And so
Cue the X Files music. Woo, woo, woo. the
is that person also Otangelo?
Really?
Seawind?
It might be.
Is that also that might be Otangelo also?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
But by the way, this time I banned Otangelo, so you didn't have to do it.
Usually it's me. Usually I beat you to it.
Mm-hmm. But is it also another super chat? Do you have another super chat?
From Savage Bivalve Alpinist Cobra for $1.99. But isn't astrology a science?
This is a Michael Behe reference.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
I mean, like Michael Behe in court, like for defending intelligent design, he had to admit that according to his definition of science, that it allows intelligent design to be science. It also allows astrology to be science.
Yes,
and he admitted that in court.
Mm-hmm.
That's very funny.
That's so embarrassing.
Yeah, that was in the Kitzmiller versus Dover case.
That's very funny. I haven't read The Devil in Dover, and I really need to. I need to read that book. I haven't yet. I actually just started reading, and I know what it's about, but I haven't read the book, which is what most Christians say about the Bible. No,
it's a very good title. The Devil in Dover.
Yeah, it's a very good title.
Also, I prefer it to be The Devil Went Down to Dover.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I keep Merchants of Doubt.
Cue the fiddles.
I just started reading Merchants of Doubt, which I'll put there in the side chat. Merchants of Doubt by Naomi Oreski. It's and somebody else, but I can't remember the other person's name.
Is that the source material of the movie with the same name? Because I remember a movie that's also titled "The Merchants of Doubt."
Is it about using the same tactics that the tobacco industry used?
Yes.
Then it's that one. So basically, the point is, the book first goes through the tobacco industry and how they cast doubt on the studies about cigarettes causing cancer, even though everyone, including the CEOs of the tobacco industries, knew that cigarettes cause cancer, but they basically had a major PR campaign to downplay those facts. And in fact, the same exact methods are used today by the fossil fuel industries to downplay the fact that fossil fuels cause climate, or that burning fossil fuels cause climate change. It's literally the exact same playbook, but it's much more, I'd argue it's much more effective now, in part because we have much better technology, so it's a lot easier to spread information. Everyone has access. It can like make a blog now and post anything. There are like major news networks that are now committed to lying because we don't have things like the fairness doctrine anymore.
Which sometimes they are being paid by a foreign government secretly.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's another one. It turns out a bunch of conservative political pundits are paid by Russia. Who could have seen this coming? Such a shock. But anyway, so there was this thing called the fairness doctrine, which basically said that any news, anyone who's presenting information, I guess you would say it's news, has to present the information fairly. They have to make a good faith effort to present the information fairly. And our favorite our named president decided no, actually, and had that one wiped. That was Ronald Reagan. So, along with 10 million other terrible things that he did, he also helped
Classic
cripple.
Reagan.
Classic Reagan. Yeah, he also helped cripple our information distribution in this country. So, thanks, Reagan. So, the fairness doctrine now gone. News companies don't have to make a good faith effort to tell the truth about anything, which is how, for instance, Fox News got into hot water with the Dominion lawsuit, and they got sued like hundreds of millions of dollars, if not over $1 billion. They got sued a crap load of money when they settled that, because all of the head people at Fox were all texting each other, hey, we know it's bogus, but we're losing viewers to OAN and Newsmax, these other conservative networks. So they pushed the lie anyways, because that's what Trump was saying. And then they got sued by Dominion because it turns out you can't do libel or slander. It turns out you can still get sued for that. So they did. And they settled because they knew it was a lie. So anyway. Johnny V, yeah, Ukraine is bad. Pay no attention to all the bags of money behind the curtain. Tim Pool, allegedly, yes. Yeah. Oh, his biographical movie is playing in my town. I'm not going to see it. PZ, I actually do want to go see Reagan. I have a friend who's also very liberal. We both want to go see that movie, and so we can laugh about it. I'm sure they'll.
Is the propaganda movie or?
Yeah, it's like a biopic. Yeah, it's like a propagandistic biopic of Reagan. Did it come out? Let's see. When did Reagan movie? Is it out already? It got a 17 on Rotten Tomatoes. Sheesh. Oh, that's very funny. Not at all surprising.
I'm with Nan, by the way. I prefer the other Reagan, Natalia.
Oh, Natalia Reagan, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No relation. Or was there a relation coincidentally?
No.
Mm-mm-mm.
And with her sense of humor, she would have been kicked out of the family of Ronald Reagan anyway, I think.
That's very funny. I'm looking at the critics' reviews right now. I know this is very off topic, and we're not even talking about Pamela Acker yet, but I have to. This person from the Rolling Stone says Reagan can't even trace the broad outlines of your stock biopic because it refuses to allow in its protagonist any kind of complicating flaw, and the geopolitical stalemate that acts as the primary conflict is too big and abstract for the frame. Like Reagan the actor and Reagan the president, Reagan the new movie has a strained relationship with reality from Slate. Oof.
Oof.
Everyone's just roasting it, apparently. Anyway.
Also, Smitty says, let's see if you can. Is there going to be a movie called Dick about Richard Nixon?
There should be, if there isn't already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's funny. I need to see this. I have to see this movie. It's like, I don't know if you guys, I know that you two remember, but in the audience, there used to be a guy named Strike. Sadly, he passed away in a car accident. He messaged me.
He had a heart attack, which caused the car accident.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
He and I would go see movie. We weren't in the same area, but he would message me and say, "Hey, this movie is coming out and it's going to be real bad." That's actually how I saw Genesis Paradise Lost, was and a couple other movies made by creationists, where these movies.
Don't mention that movie. PZ Myers is going to have flashbacks in the side chat.
Well, actually, we went on.
In all fairness, that's how
right after that.
That's how I met PZ Myers. He invited me to review Genesis Paradise Lost when I didn't even see it because it wasn't playing in the Netherlands.
These movies. So I was living at the time in Baton Rouge, which is a larger city, has a number of theaters that show like movies that you won't see everywhere. So it has, it's normal theaters, but also it'll have what do you call it? Like there's a term for it.
We have a lot of those theaters too, especially in Amsterdam. It's called the Red Light District.
You're very funny, Pete. What is it called? Like a limited release or something like that? Where the only like the movie will only come to like a few theaters. I think it's called limited release. But movies like that would play at some of these theaters, and so I would go and watch these movies, and then I'd Sidestrike and I would we'd have a show or whatever, and we talk about them. And so one of the other ones I saw that he clued me into was it was a video about the history of the Bible, actually about the New Testament. It was the history of the New Testament, and it talked about how researchers date the New Testament, right? They carbon date it, and they do the evolution of language, and they look at like, okay, well, this based on these words and these sentence structures, whatever, that would put these fragments at like this particular time, that sort of stuff. And so the movie, which is narrated by John Rhys Davies, interestingly enough, the guy who plays Gimli in Lord of the Rings, among many other things, but that's the one that I think of first. He was in the Sliders. He was the professor in the Sliders. No one watches Sliders. And so this movie is narrated by him. And so at the end of the movie, when they nail down, like they go through how researchers know what the age of the New Testament is, at the very end of it, the two people who produced this movie are sitting on stage with an archaeologist, or a guy who basically is like Josh Bowen, studies Near East history, that sort of stuff. And they say, okay, so given that the New Testament is this old, that means it accurately depicts all the things it talks about, right? And the archaeologist, to his credit, goes, well, it's kind of complicated. He's on stage. He's been invited by these guys who made this movie. The whole movie is just about talking about the history of the New Testament. And they go, so that means it's true, right? And he's like, I mean, there's probably some they may have taken a little bit of freedom in some of the details of some of these stories.
Jackson, I think you have a potential new topic and a
Yes,
guest.
I was going to mention that too.
Oh,
yeah. Look at PZ's last post in the chat.
Doing a team trashing of Reagan with Jackson about the only thing that would get me to watch it. Actually, all right, you know what? Let's do it.
That would be fun.
I'm not entirely sure how we'd doing would we be able to?
I don't think you can react. I don't think you can react to the movie, but you can like talk about the main points.
Yeah, well, we could. Yeah, we probably wouldn't be able to do a stream, but what we'd probably be able to do would like go see the movie, take notes, and then talk about it on stream.
Like a review, like an after watching review, basically. Yeah. Although I probably can see it. Probably, yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, do you?
If you need a spot, then I'm willing to give up my spot for PZ Myers for another stream. Or we can do a four person stream, right?
I mean, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
That's fine with me. Yeah, I mean that'd be fine. When are the Science Friends assembling next? The Science Friends. I don't know. I haven't seen them talking about anything recently, as far as I'm aware. I mean, they're always talking about stuff, but I mean, talking about doing like a collective stream. The last time we were like all together was Dan's stream where we went through that article. I can't remember.
Deplorable, right? Deplorable, or is it a different article?
No, I forgot about that one. Well, because Professor Dave and Aaron are not in the Science Friends, even though that's true. That was a unification of a bunch of us. I felt I got hurt in my heart when I was reading the comments on that video, and somebody said, "Hey, that's Jackson Rowe, right?" No, how is he more popular than me? Anyway, So I had to correct that person. Be like, no, I'm Jackson Wheat. Come see my channel. Are we still in the intro? Yeah, I've been blabbing for a long time. I'm sorry. All right, guys, you ready to watch some Pamela Acker?
Yeah. Yeah.
Only, well,
I don't. I also don't remember exactly what predictions we were making last time. I'm trying to remember, but I don't remember.
Yes. Okay, so we each made a prediction. I made one, you made one, and
Yeah.
you said like it could be both.
Yeah.
But you're
Yeah.
right. I don't remember. Peter,
so
would
it
we
was.
go back?
It was at the point where they were talking about the yolk sac and that humans don't have a yolk sac. That's
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
I remember what the
Yes.
prediction was. So my prediction is thank you, Peter. Thank you.
me.
Yeah, see, you got better memory
I
than
do
me.
my research because I know where I have to start the video this time. So I needed to know where we conked out last time.
You cheated.
No,
My
this is my
prediction
job. This is what I have to
is
do
that-
because we can't
That's true.
start over every show because we wouldn't get through it. Just to scare the two of you a little. Let me see. So we
Well, my
have
prediction-
1 hour and 19 minutes and
Oh, good
37
Lord.
seconds to go in this video.
Oh, I don't know. If
So
I'm gonna
we're
make
not
it.
going to finish it this show because we're already 42 minutes in and we haven't touched it yet.
True. Okay, so my prediction is that her response on the vitellogenin gene is that she's going to say the gene actually does have still a function, even though it is a pseudogene, so it has no function. She's going to say it does have a function. It's making some protein. We just don't know what it is. And Nestle, what was your prediction?
I predicted that she's going to do the it doesn't matter either way. It's just a loss of
That's right.
information. Yeah,
That's right.
and she might do both, even though they are like contradictory a bit. I think I can expect to see both. Maybe she will say, "Oh, if it's lost, then doesn't matter. It's lost, or it's perhaps still a function." Yeah. So
Well-
she might do both. Yeah.
Well,
I
PZ,
expect.
so the thing was, they were watching a video by a different guy who was doing a creation evolution debate, and the evolution guy pointed out that we do have a vestigial yolk sac, and that also we have the gene genes producing the yolk. However, the gene, of course, is a pseudogene. The vitellogenin gene is a pseudogene, and so what we're predicting is what Pamela Acker's response to that is going to be. That was what we were talking about. So she does acknowledge that we have the yolk sac, or maybe she'll say the same thing. The yolk sac does actually have a function. It has some, some.
The yolk sac. The yolk sac does have like a structural function in embryology. It's just like, again, there's something that's also important to note. Vestigial does not mean completely functionalist. Like one good example that I always give is the wings of penguins. It's clearly functional. They are clearly using their wings, but it's just they don't use it for flying anymore. Yet they are still wings, and that's what makes them vestigial. Yeah.
You could also use the hind wings of fruit flies, the halters,
Yes.
because they're not used for flight. They're vestigial in the sense they are vestigial wings in the sense of being used for flight. However, they are still being used for balance to help balance the fly as it flies. But you're right, because you have the shoosh. It's been a while since I've had to think about it. What was the term for that? Because basically, you look like a little theta symbol for a little bit, which is like the zero with a line through it.
Yes.
You look like a little theta symbol very early on in development, and the top and bottom of that little tissue line in the middle become radically different things, different tissues. I'm drawing a blank. I cannot remember for the life of me what those are called. I have it written down. Hold on. Oh, I have to know. I know it. I know I had it written down. Nope, it's not there. Nope, it's not that. Frick. What is it called? Nope, not quite there. Blah blah blah. It's before that. There we go. It's the top layer is the epiblast and the bottom layer is the hypoblast. That's what it was. There's a really good book titled Life Unfolding by Jamie Davies, and he goes through the entire um, um,
Yes.
development of humans from a zygote all the way to being a fully formed baby, and he talks about that whole process and everything. It's a fascinating book. I highly recommend it. But he does talk about how we go from being a little like a little zygote to a blastula and so on and so on.
Yeah, and he also mentions the function of nodal, where you have like cilia wafting some fluid around, and that establishes the left-right asymmetry, basically. That's how the cell, quote unquote, or that's how the embryo, quote unquote, knows which is the right side and which is the left side.
Right. It's not encoded in your genes which way is like up and down or left and right. It's these mechanical changes essentially.
It's a spontaneous symmetry breaking. First, like you have symmetry, there's like no difference between the two, and then suddenly there's just a random choice is made, and then it falls into one place. That's basically what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, which is so cool. It's so cool that you have this symmetry breaking, and that's the result of why you have your heart on one side of your body versus on the other. And as it happens, you can have that flip. That there are mutations where that does flip, and people have all their organs on the exact opposite side. And they live perfectly fine with it. It really doesn't typically cause that many problems. And so we actually mentioned it in one of the Ancestors Tale videos where we're talking about the dorsolateral inversion. It's like actually you can have a mutation where everything gets flipped, and it really doesn't cause that many problems overall. So anyway, okay, all right. Let's do this. With all
let's go
all
into
that,
the video.
You want to actually start? We're close to 50 minutes.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
It isn't just birds and reptiles that have VIT genes. Even though we humans use placentas rather than egg yolks to feed our unborn babies, humans also have VIT genes. In us, they don't work because placentas, but we still have the genes. So what explains why humans have the genes to produce egg yolks like a bird or a reptile, even though we don't use eggs to house our unborn babies? It's the same reason that a brown-eyed child can have blue-eyed genes, even though they're not manifesting. A child with blue-eyed genes got them from blue-eyed ancestors, even though he's not blue-eyed. And since humans have genes for making egg yolks, some of our ancestors must have laid eggs, even though we don't do today.
So that's his position.
Geneticists have identified.
So he's saying because we have the same genes in us for laying eggs, our ancestors clearly had.
Comparing that to blue eyes is such a wild logical jump. It's just unbelievable.
Well, and it's God bless him. He's also just ignorant. Because a 30-second Google search would have told him that VIT genes have a function in human beings. They're part of our extracellular matrix. So, like, seriously, a 30-second search. So anytime you see claims like this, it's actually really important to
I have no idea. Peter, pause for a
moment. To the internet.
Pause for a moment.
Let's see, vitellogenin. Let's see. I don't know.
She also confirmed one of the myths that is going around on social media. That is in every bless you, there's a teeny tiny fuck you. I think we just got that confirmed on screen.
We sure did. Let me see. I'm looking up right now.
I get an AI answer which says vitellogenin gene is involved in the transport of lipids through the extracellular matrix in some animals. But of course, that doesn't mean in humans specifically or in like placental mammals. Yeah.
Yeah. Evolution. Vertebrates start off with a single copy of the vitellogenin gene. When the bird, mammalian, and amphibian lineages each experience duplication and gave rise to the modern genes, with the exception of monotremes, mammals have all their vitellogenin genes turned into pseudogenes. Okay. So one of the genes remains functional in monotremes. So she's just lying,
I think
I guess.
no,
Or, well,
I
she's being
think she
misleading, I guess.
yeah, I think she is completely missing the point. Like she thinks the guy was saying that vitellogenin gene is non-functional or pseudogenized in all
Right.
animals. Like she is missing the point that it's still functional in many vertebrates. It's only pseudogenized in like eutherian mammals. I think she's missing that point completely. That's what I
Probably
suspect.
intentionally. I can't imagine
Yeah.
that, because he did say it has a particular job in um in birds and reptiles. He did say that. He explicitly said that. So she is, I have a very hard time believing she didn't hear that. That she's not just lying. So that's probably what happened. She probably just heard that, went, "Oh, actually, it does have a function," which that's true. It does have a function. Not in humans, not in eutherian mammals, but it does have a function in some animals.
Also, I Google search vitellogenin extracellular matrix, and the only answer I get that sounds similar to hers is from AI. So I am afraid she's just like asking AI on the spot to answer a question like this. I hope I'm wrong about that.
No, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't, because there's no reason for her to be wrong about this. So, okay, so we were both wrong. Well, okay, so we were both wrong.
No,
So
no, you were right. You
No,
said
no, no,
that
no.
she would say.
No, see, what I expected was, I expected her to say it does have some function, we just don't know what it is, which is what intelligent design advocates tend to say. She's just outright calling the dude a liar. She's just saying he's wrong, that it does actually have a known function. And she's lying when she says that. So, I mean, or at least with regard to humans. So, yep, there is a lipovitelin in egg-laying mammals, not found in the mammals. There is a vitellogenin gene related, or family of related molecules. Yeah, and that's from PZ. Yep. So okay, so she's just lying. All right. Anyway, we were both wrong. Oh well. We had a bar, and she limboed under the bar.
It's so awkward to have such low expectations and still be disappointed.
Right. I asked for nothing, and I was still disappointed. Yep. Okay, we can keep going.
And just type in, vit gene human. Like, what does that do? It's part of your extracellular matrix, and that's what causes your proteins to connect to each other. And there's no wonder that it's present in yolk, because you have a lot of extracellular matrix that keeps that yolk together, right? So you're using a gene in a different way, a similar gene in a different way, to perform a similar kind of function in the body. And this is true of all kinds of genes that we share with bacteria, that we share with bananas, right? So you have to live in an environment that's saturated with oxygen. So do they. You have to be able to deal with the free radicals that are produced when oxygen reacts with other things. So do they. You have to, if you're something that metabolizes using oxygen, you have to be able to do that. And so does everything else that lives in an oxygen environment. So we have similar genes, but they don't necessarily indicate similar ancestry. They indicate similar functionality.
Oh, pause.
And Let's
pause, because that's also a lie. This argument that you can have similar genes without similar, you can have similar genes with similar functions is outright refuted by the fact that these could be totally different genes, right, in terms of their sequence, and do the exact same function if they were created separately. But the fact is that they reveal a nested hierarchy. There's literally no reason that should be the case if they were created separately, unless God wanted to trick us. One of the what's the echolocation protein that's in like
Preston?
Yeah, the Preston, if I remember correctly, it's like it's involved in our hearing, but
Yes.
the sequence is totally different for bats versus whales. The
Mhm.
sequence is completely different, but it has a similar function. So the sequence of Preston for whales is way more similar to the sequence for other hoof mammals like cows than it is to bats.
Yes.
And that's the exact opposite of what we should expect if the they were created with like it's the same function for the same gene. Like that's the exact
Mhm.
opposite of our expectation. So
Yeah.
no.
Well, that's the thing that the creationists will like jump onto is the fact that like the echolocating whales and echolocating bats have like share like a one or a few amino acid substitutions that which makes the prestin protein like and the hearing system more sensitive for echolocation. Of course, the sequence as a whole is still similar to their respective relatives, nonetheless.
Right. Oh, also
Yeah.
PZ, thank you so much for looking that up, PZ. I was just thinking that she was getting the gene right, but looking at the wrong thing. No, she was even looking at the wrong gene. So PZ says,
Vitrin, oh my god, Vitrin.
I searched for VIT genes in humans. It returns links to a gene encoding an extracellular matrix protein, but it's not vitellogenin, it's vitrin, a completely different protein. Oh my god, she read the wrong she read the wrong gene.
She pulled a raw math.
She sure did. She literally
Yeah.
read the wrong gene. That's amazing.
Also something that PC Myers mentioned earlier about like the mutant that causes the left-right asymmetry to be flipped in humans. Apparently, they are like they have like immunological problems.
Oh, okay.
Sounds pretty. Yeah, it sounds
Gotcha.
pretty instant. Like he says, the mutations messes up with like flagella and I think also cilia, like in the nodal system, cilia are at work, and cilia have like similar structure to the flagella in eukaryotes. So yeah, it is pretty interesting. Yeah, but in any case, yeah, this is so bad that she confused two wholly different proteins.
That's great. That's so funny that she read the wrong thing. Bless her heart. You know, bless her heart. Okay, we can keep going. Good lord.
I use a picture of these two chairs a lot that are super futuristic and weird looking, and I show them my presentations and I say, you know, do you guys know what this is? And everybody always says, yeah,
can you pause for one moment?
And I
Sorry.
said, well,
I just I want to mention something, but I almost forgot. Like you mentioned the prestin gene, and I also have one example. Our hemoglobin is like similar to all the hemoglobin found in vertebrates. They are homologous. But we also have like a different version of hemoglobin found in plants, like legumes. And it's called if I pronounce it correctly, hemoglobin. Basically, legume, hemoglobin attached to each other. It's called. It has roughly the same name, but it's a completely different protein. And the way they use this protein is like similar. It binds to oxygen, but it's used to basically pull oxygen away from the roots, so the bacteria can do nitrogen fixation, which is what like legumes do. They have symbiotic bacteria, and that fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. And they are also very oxygen sensitive. So what they use this different version of hemoglobin to like pull oxygen away from that. And again, they are the same function. They bind to oxygen, but they are completely different proteins.
That's awesome. That's a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Preston is my go-to, just because that's one I've read a couple papers about, but that is a really good example. Okay, we can keep going.
How did you know that? And well, they have a back and they have a place to sit and they look like a chair. Even though you've never seen them before, you know that they're a chair based on the way that they're shaped. And the same thing actually applies to molecules. You know the function of a molecule based on the way that it's shaped. And shape is super important. In fact, shape is the reason that the COVID-19 vaccines were tested on aborted fetal cells, because we ended up altering the DNA that was involved in producing the vaccine antigen so that it would maintain a stable three-dimensional shape, even in the absence of the viral particle. And then we had to actually produce that in cells. We didn't have to do it in aborted fetal cells, but that's what they chose to do. But you have to actually produce that in a cell because you can't produce a protein in a test tube. It's
Hey, at least she's not an anti-vaxxer. Gotta give her that.
Look at that three-dimensional shape and say, hey, does
I
this
mean,
match the three-dimensional
let me
shape that we
rephrase.
had when we actually...
Hold on, Peter. She's not an anti-vaxxer for the normal reason. She's not saying vaccines don't work. She's saying she doesn't like vaccines because of the way that they were tested. Which, I mean, it's at least a different kind of anti-vax, right? I mean, it's not your normal anti-vax, right? Oh, anyway. Sorry. I know she's an anti-vaxxer. I know. I'm just saying she's not your usual anti-vaxxer. She's not saying COVID vaccine doesn't work. She's saying she doesn't like it because, they had to test it on these aborted fetal cells or whatever.
I'm so happy that the Trump crowd hasn't figured this out yet, because they would immediately translate that into that fetuses are aborted because they need the cells for kind of research.
Oh, I'm sure they think that anyway, But actually, well, the funny thing was when Trump got he got a treatment for COVID because he got COVID before the vaccines came out, and the treatment involved, if I remember correctly, aborted fetal cells.
It did.
And the thing is, the conservatives didn't care about that because let's be honest, they don't care. They're never going to care. They're not going to be consistent in their beliefs. They're never consistent. So
there was also one, I forgot his name, like one Republican governor, I believe. I don't remember the specific person, but he coerced his someone, so like he was cheating with somebody else, and he coerced them to undergo abortion just to keep.
Well, that's
it
not
secret,
surprising.
basically. Like
That
his affair, yeah.
I
forget
this.
Someone on Twitter actually made a post this week, which I thought was actually pretty brilliant. Because, as you said, they didn't care about this because it apparently saved Trump from COVID. So now someone on Twitter said, so why aren't the Democrats now pushing for gun control to save Donald Trump's life after 2 assassination attempts? I think that would be a brilliant move.
Yes,
because
it would be hilarious for the Dems to do a save Donald Trump bill and reducing gun violence, whatever, and have the Republicans shoot it down. That'd be very funny.
Yes, and if the Republicans shoot it down, then Trump will be furious because they obviously are against saving his life. But I mean, this would be entertainment to me. That
would be like Aaron Sorkin levels of political humor right there.
Yes,
that'd be great.
Someone needs to do that.
Yeah, that would be quite funny. Save Trump, ban guns, and then they have to be like, no, don't
save Trump. I mean, ban the guns.
That would be quite funny. Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, it'd be rather disingenuous, but it would still be very funny. So, okay. Anyway, all right, we can keep going.
I mean, it would be disingenuous, but they have to.
It'd make him mad, which would be even funnier.
I need this in my life. Please, someone do something.
They had a virus particle, and it did, and then they went forward with vaccine production. So shape matters, shape on a molecular level, and it determines the function that molecule can have. It doesn't mean that the vaccine and the virus had a common ancestor.
Oh, and again,
it means they have a common creator more than anything, using the same tools, the same building blocks.
Oh, hold on one second, Peter. Okay, again, this is falsified by the fact that you can have different proteins with completely different structures fulfilling similar jobs. Like this, that just automatically falsifies this argument. But also, viruses themselves are an argument against this, because viruses did not all share a common ancestor. You can't do one single phylogenetic tree for all viruses, right? So they have different common ancestors. They arose at different times over geologic history, and as a result, even if they're using they may be using proteins that have similar functions, like, getting into a cell, like crossing the plasma membrane or whatever. But these did not all arise from a common ancestor. And as a result of that, again, you have another example where similar function, not common ancestor, right? Because there are differences in these protein or in these genes that are then building these proteins that are allowing to do that. So like, it's just, her argument is completely falsified by the example she gave. But anyway, okay.
Apart from the fact that I don't feel the need to add a label in StreamYard that says co-host and producer. I do want to attack the guy who is the co-host and producer. Did he just say they have the same designer? Is he blaming God for COVID?
Well, no, COVID's the Chinese fault, obviously.
No. He said they had the same designer. So
God
the virus
designed us. But the Chinese designed the virus. That's what he would say. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. The Chinese designed the virus and the vaccine.
Right. Exactly. They did both. Yeah. Correct.
To solve the same sort of problems, just in different things.
Right. And there's a great book by.
Wait,
Stuart
no,
Burnett.
that's the opposite of her argument.
The title of it. It's sitting over there on my shelf, and my eyesight is a little too bad to make it out. I think it's called The Origin of Man. But he talks about.
But you're wearing glasses.
So he's an engineer. So he's looking at these similarities.
So not a biologist.
Plan
cool.
And the similarities that you see in structure.
That's like God created humans perfectly.
I was referring to the fact, like she said, like it's difficult for me to see this, but
yes,
she is wearing like maybe you need a new glasses.
You need new pair of glasses.
The Origin of Man by Maurice Bucaille. The Answers of Science and the Holy Scriptures. What is the origin of man? Is the work of a mature reflection written with the aim of exposing outmoded antagonisms between science and religion and showing that far from standing in opposition, the two are perfectly compatible. Well, I don't disagree with that. I mean, they can be absolutely compatible depending on what your religious interpretation is. I'm curious to know what he he is a creationist. Okay. So someone says, great book. I would highly recommend reading it. I can see why Dr. Bucaille, or I have no idea how to pronounce that, did not get into the spiritual. I can see why he did not get into the spiritual aspects of man as he focused on the science side of the origin of man. His focus was essentially to demonstrate the lack of evidence of Darwinism or Darwinism has put forward. And this was done through quoting scripture with scientific evidence supporting it. Okay. All right. PZ says maybe we were created by the Chinese. Maybe. Could have been. China. Okay, so she's referencing a creationist book. Big shock. All right. Anyway.
As an engineer and saying, look, there's a certain elegance to this, and there's also a certain functionality to this. You know, a crane and my arm and a cat's paw all have the same 3 joints. You know, it's attached to the body at one joint. There's an elbow joint and there's a wrist joint, because that is the most efficient way to build an arm. You know, and there's also a certain elegance to all of creation, even
then
down
why
to the molecular
do
level,
other animals
being built in the same
have
way.
Different
because
constructions for
arms.
arms.
There's a harmony to it, and it's also beautiful because God designed creation to be known by man. And imagine if I started studying molecular biology and I had to completely relearn how molecules worked in a dog because they're different than the way they work in me. You know, that's going to make that whole field inaccessible to human beings to study. So things are similar because humans need to have an understanding.
Yet we don't have just one model species for all life.
You know, so there's all kinds of reasons why things are similar besides common ancestry.
Well, going to
hold on a minute.
Even to the VIT gene.
Pause for a minute. Like she just made the argument like God made everything the same because otherwise biology would be too complicated to learn stuff. We only need like one animal to know all animals, for example. But we don't have just one model species. Like we have many model species for different groups of animals.
Don't you know Arabidopsis is the only model organism?
Yeah, exactly. Just one needed for everything. Like,
Yeah,
no.
PZ says spiders have, I think, 7 joints in a limb, giving them more degrees of freedom. No, obviously not. They only have 3, clearly.
Also there's also a problem with relying on a model species too much, because of course, like even the model species like Arabidopsis, it doesn't represent all plants. It cannot represent all plants. Like not even flowering plants.
Right. Right. It doesn't represent ferns. Doesn't represent mosses. Doesn't represent gymnosperms. Really, it just gives you insight into particular aspects of them. Same with like nematodes. Give particular aspects into invertebrates, fruit flies, same thing, or zebrafish. Give particular insights into vertebrates. But yeah, none of these is like the end all of model organisms.
like you don't know everything just from looking at the model. She's just, again, she essentially makes the argument that from a model species we can just know everything because everything has the same structure. Like no.
I like this. PZ says, coxa, trochanter, femur, patella, is that tibia, metatarsus, tarsus, the ideal pattern.
Yes, the ideal.
That is the ideal pattern.
Yeah. Also, there's also something that's also very funny to note is tetrapods are not the only vertebrates who have like adapted the fins into fleshy structures. Like, for example, you have the what's called the hand fish. I think you have maybe covered that in the video.
Yeah, the frogfish, the handfish. Yeah, it's a little anglerfish.
Yeah, these are anglerfish that like have modified their fins to basically function as legs, but they walk on the surface on the bottom surface of the ocean floor. Basically, they don't swim very much. They just use their fins to like walk across the bottom. Yeah, and the structure is completely different from our limb structure.
I mean, heck, how mud skippers crawl across the like mud flats is completely different from how like, for instance, a salamander would crawl across mud flats. Epaulet sharks, their movement is more like a salamander's than like a mud skipper's is. It's just yeah, the idea. I mean, again, she's not a zoologist. She is like a molecular biology, I think she said, and she's done like some cancer, or sorry, she's done like some vaccine stuff in the past, and like that's kind of it. So I don't know. This again, like
but even in the molecular world, you have, as you mentioned before, you have different proteins doing the same function. They are completely different.
Right, and you would think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure that she has a background where, again, she could theoretically know this, or maybe even does know this, but her inclination towards young Earth creationism is going to put all that in the backseat because, is going to put all the science that she knows to the backseat. So yeah.
I hope Kent Hovind is going to watch this video, because I think Smitty just threw out a trigger for Hovind that he couldn't ignore for the next couple of months.
Pine trees are similar to humans because God wanted us to understand them.
That solves the whole pine trees and elephants thing, I think.
Yeah,
there we go.
To make it simple for you, but for the biologist, I have to agree that the pine trees are the same as humans. Yes,
correct. Yeah.
Also, speaking about similar things, earlier in chat, E.Z. Myers posted that Ronald Reagan's biographical movie is playing in his town. EZ's is playing on YouTube, by the way. I truly enjoyed those videos, PZ. For people who haven't acknowledged that yet, seeing how you celebrated Christmas as a kid, very similar to my own recollections, by the way.
Are they showing it? They're not really showing it very much near me.
What, PZ's biographical movies?
No, the Reagan movie.
No, PZ is showing his on his channel.
He's showing his biography?
Yeah. Old videos turned into digital.
they're showing it in like one theater near me. No, okay, never mind. Sorry, I'm an idiot. They are showing it. Sorry, they're showing it at two theaters near me. Okay, they're showing it near me. I was looking at this. I'm like, what? It's not showing anywhere. No, okay, it is. Never mind.
Also, PZ Maya is saying one might also argue that tentacles are superior. Yeah, you've
right.
Many more degrees of freedom. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, way more degrees of freedom.
Mm-hmm. Like our overlord and savior, Cthulhu.
We can keep going.
Let's not have tentacles on humans because Trump tends to grab things. I can't imagine what's going to happen. Never mind.
Right? It's like, why would humans have this? Well, for years they told us that the appendix had no purpose, right? And this is obviously evolution because the human being evolved beyond the appendix, and this is a leftover from evolution. And it turns out that the appendix actually does serve a purpose, and there is
really important.
Okay,
in fact,
pause.
You might.
So this is more of an argument against bad science communication or science journalism rather than the actual functioning of the appendix. Because on the one hand, yes, the appendix does serve, or the cecoappendicular complex does serve an additional function in herbivores or more herbivorous mammals, I guess I should say, like chimpanzees and gorillas, for instance, because it serves as a site for hosting bacteria that break down the plant matter that forms a much greater proponent or proportion of their diet relative to ours. And since the Homo line moved away from having these predominantly vegetation diets, our appendix shrank, our cecoappendicular complex shrank because we don't really need it. We don't need it as much in that light or in that function, that regard. It still does have a function. And in fact, the observation that it likely has a function goes back to the early 1900s. I think you can find papers. It's like references in like the early 1900s to people saying, "Hey, the appendix is associated with what is it, like immunological tissues?
Gut
I think.
flora.
Yeah.
Gut flora.
Well,
the
tissue itself. It was like tissue or something like that, and they
the appendix is surrounded by like a complex network of lymph nodes, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So they pointed this out, and some people, in the way that they explained for instance, Darwin did think that it had no function, but of course that was in the mid 1800s. By the time we got into the early 1900s, there were proposed functions, but nobody knew quite what it did. It wasn't until I think actually in like the early 2000s, wasn't it, that there was like, or late 90s, something like that, that the actual function of it was finally like nailed down, which is as an inoculum for gut flora. And interestingly, what does the savage bivalve alpinist cobra for $1.99, what does the appendix do in breatharians? Probably not a whole lot, because you can't survive for very long as a breatharian. So the gullet has expanded doesn't mean the appendix has a conserved function. Okay.
Oh, I think I know what the function is in breatharians. It's to regurgitate bullshit.
Oh, that's true. Doesn't mean the appendix has a conserved function. Okay. Well, I was under the impression the appendix does have a function, which is serving as an inoculum for some gut flora. So we still, as I understand it, we still do use it in that regard. I could be wrong, but I believe that's what I've read. But at any rate,
wouldn't it be the
function,
the human the human equivalent to a catalytic converter in a breatharian? Just guessing.
At any rate, the function is massively reduced compared to our relatives. So even if it does have a function, its function is reduced. I mean, it's reduced in size, right? And it's reduced in function compared to our relatives, which is how it factors into talks about evolution. No, what's up, Nestle?
Oh yeah, I like I've seen like a few papers that argue that the appendix is actually not vestigial, not because it has functions, but because our ancestors did, like none of our distant ancestors had a very large like cecum basically. Yeah, it's that's maybe one hypothesis that can say like, oh, it's not vestigial, but not because it's non-functional. Again, like vestigial doesn't imply non-functional, but it may not be vestigial because it has no ancestral history like that, like in the herbivores. It like the function herbivores does. Yeah.
Oh.
And also the thing that PZ Myers mentioned, like I think he's suggesting that, or maybe it refers to something also about, like you mentioned, the complex network of lymph tissues around the appendix. And I think it's a mistake to interpret that as, oh, the function is in the immune, like the function of the appendix is in the immune system. It could be the case that because the appendix is a very vulnerable entry site of like pathogens, it like we have just more lymph nodes to protect ourselves. Like it's the same reason why we have more lymph nodes in our armpits. It's like a bottleneck for infection, basically. That's why you have lymph nodes there. It's not it's not because the appendix functions for the immune system. It's just it's a very vulnerable site for infection to occur. Right. That's why you have these there.
He does point out also many of us don't have one with no effect. True. I am one of said people.
Yes.
I don't have an appendix anymore because it tried to kill me, so I had to kill it first.
Yeah, and I don't think like regardless what functions the appendix may have, the difference between people with and without is not a whole lot.
I personally have had no change in anything. Like I didn't feel any different after than I did before. You know, it hasn't changed me at all. So
yeah, like sometimes like some people undergo surgery for a very different reason than appendicitis, but then they say they like the doctors will say like, oh, since we are already cutting you open and we are close by the same region, we can also just remove your appendix just in case it might kill you later. Then we don't have to cut you open again later on. So we can just also remove the appendix since we are already cutting you open in the same place nonetheless. So that also happens. Yeah.
Well, for me, I hadn't had any surgeries, you know, prior. That was my first, like, my first surgery. And so they had to pull it on out. It wasn't fun. Okay, anyway. All right, we can keep going.
Yeah, just one thing. Smitty just posted something. That takes me back. Dr. Hook and the Medicines Show. The wonderful soup stone. It exists, Smitty. Go check it out. I posted the link.
You might die without it in your first couple years of life. So, because it regulates the formation or the colonization of your intestines by your microbiome, and it regulates your immune function when you're little. It's part of the gut-associated lymphatic tissue. So, same thing with tonsils. Same thing with name an organ that they said was useless a long time ago. And
okay, wait, pause.
Use for.
Okay, that one is just a lie. RJ and I talked about that in the Rocks for Their Volume 1, because creationists take a book written by this guy, I think his name was Wiedersheim, in the late 1800s, and he goes through a bunch of organs that are he's not saying they're vestigial. He was talking about their function, but creationists have claimed that he was going through and saying all these different organs are vestigial, like your tonsils and adenoids, when that was explicitly not what he was doing. So that's just a lie. I'm sure she herself hasn't read it. RJ actually went through it and read the citations for all of those things, because you can access the book online. It's available. So RJ went through it. And Wiedersheim doesn't say anything similar to that. So she's probably relying on some other creationist who made this claim, who also probably didn't read it. Nope, she's just wrong on that.
it, you know.
Yeah.
My favorite one is actually ostrich wings, right? So ostrich wings are supposed to be evolutionary leftovers because they're just somehow descended from a bird and they lost the ability to fly.
I mean,
No,
they're
they didn't
somehow
have the
descended. What
ability
does
to
that
fly
mean?
to begin with. Those wings are actually sophisticated air conditioning systems. So the way that the veins run through the wings in an ostrich allows that ostrich to, when they flutter their wings like you see them do all the time, they're cooling themselves off because they're running cool air by all of that blood, those blood vessels.
Wait a minute.
That cools all that
Hold
blood
on.
down.
Pause. I guarantee, I'm going to look this up right now, but I will bet a large sum of money that they have the exact same vent, or the circulatory system in their wings as like any other bird. I'm willing to bet it's exactly the same, and what she's saying right now is like meaningless, because it's true for any bird. Any bird that flutters its wings is going to experience ventilation. That's just nonsense. What this is pointless.
Yeah.
This is a pointless comparison.
And this is again, like feathers have many different functions. Like
Right.
again, you can use them as insulation, or you can, like, again, as you mentioned, birds can like adjust their feathers to either ventilate or insulate. Yeah, it's. But I think instead of looking at the again, vestigial does not mean non-functional, because function in the case of the ostrich. But for a non-function, like for a non-functional example of a wing, look at the emu. Look at the arms of an emu.
It can't.
They have no
flap.
It can
wings,
move.
Right?
Yeah, it has no muscles in its wings, like none at all. It's just like one spindly arm and one finger, and that's it. And that's it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So they can't even flap their wings. So they literally can't move them. I'm sure they were descended from flightless ancestors, just like the ostrich. Or she probably didn't even know that. She probably just thinks like, I don't care. They're flightless birds. No, yeah, this argument is silly. The wing is a big flat surface. So of course, if you move it, it's gonna force air, which is gonna cool you down. Like obviously, that doesn't make ostriches special. That's true of literally all birds.
So you completely ruined my fantasy there, Jackson, because I was going with the African elephant and King Charles of Great Britain. Both have large ears, but Charles can't flap them, so probably not for cooling.
It's true. DM, how readest thou wing? They don't know what vestigial means. True. They never do. Creationists always say vestigial just means functionless.
Even Darwin clarified that vestigial does not mean non-functional. It's like I don't remember exactly what quote it was or in what book he clarified it, but I'm pretty sure there's like a quote. Yeah, I think in that book somewhere he explicitly explained that vestigial does not necessarily mean completely non-functional. It just means that they have lost like the main or some of the original function. Like in the case of ostrich wings, even if they have function, they lost the original function of flight. Yeah,
yeah,
and they are still like they are still wings. Like again, my example previously was the penguins.
Mm-hmm.
They are wings. They are still wings, yet they are not used for flight. That's what makes them functional. That's what makes them vestigial.
Now I'm
functional.
Curious, because didn't wings evolve in order to make sure you could keep a larger clutch of eggs warm? Isn't that?
Well, that was a function. So wings, feathers serve a variety of functions. So probably they first evolved for display. So they probably evolved for display first, and then from there were exapted or possibly, which also served in insulation. So you have insulation and display, and also if you lay your wings over your clutch of eggs, you're insulating them, keeping them warm, and also they're a flat surface. So if you stretch out your arms and your legs at the same time, you form this long flat surface, which helps you glide, so you don't just fall straight to your death. And basically, what happened was you had the very small, or pretty small, paraves, so things that were like ancestral to the dromaeosaurs, the oviraptorosaurs, and
I think it's Panaraptora. Yes, like if you include the Oviraptor.
Sorry, Troodontids. It was the Troodontids. Sorry.
The Troodontids. Yeah.
Troodontids and the avialans. You have you have these small like theropods who basically flew by stretching out their arms and their legs, kind of like what flying squirrels do. But instead of having skin connecting the arms to the legs, they have the feathers, and so that served as kind of like a flat surface that they could catch air with and glide safely down instead of just falling straight from a branch. But also, of course, if you, as experiments have shown with like juvenile birds, which is called wing-assisted incline running, if you flap your wings as you're going up a surface, they give you lift, so you can traverse. It wasn't even they could even traverse like
vertical,
surfaces that were like at an obtuse angle. It was like it wasn't
even more vertical.
Yeah, they could basically go like almost upside down. Essentially, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, they can run really fast.
And
give themselves
like it's not just like wings can also like the obvious function of wings is like flying or gliding, but in the case of like these like distant paravians, it appears like they could have used them for many different modes of locomotion, going through the environment. Like it appears that like many of these like small sized theropods, they escaped from the predators by climbing up in trees, and then of course climbing down or like flapping down with their wings and such. And that's the way how they like just moved through their environment, going up and down the trees, basically. Like that.
Yeah, and over time, as they miniaturized so they miniaturized their body size, but enlarged the front wings while downsizing the feathers on the hind legs, and so that's what gave rise to birds eventually. So yeah. Okay.
Goes back into the core. They don't overheat and die. Well, they live in the desert, right? So it's hot during the day, but it gets really cold at night. So at night, they just tuck their wings up next to them. All those blood vessels stay right protected against their core, and they don't cool down. They stay warm.
Again, as things all birds do.
Just like
literally all birds.
For that reason. And the gentleman who just asked why he has a tailbone, that would be because you stand up.
It's to anchor pelvic muscles.
So the muscles that are involved in your legs, allowing you to maintain an upright posture and walk, are your tailbone's involved.
That doesn't answer the question, though.
Muscles
telling us what they do now. Oh, pause for a second. Telling us what the tailbone does now does not answer the question of why do I have a tailbone. There are obviously other ways, like mechanically, if you're God, you could come up with other ways of anchoring pelvic muscles, right?
Yes, you wouldn't need to borrow from the apes.
To the tailbone,
yes.
The thing that we share in common with all other primates. Like that's not an answer to the question. You're just telling us what it does currently. They always do that. They always try to get around it by like saying, "Oh, well, it does this." Or like, why do I have wisdom teeth? Oh, well, sometimes for some people, wisdom teeth, are just normal. Okay, that doesn't tell me why I have them. And they're not normal for me. They're in the wrong parts of my mouth.
God wasn't smart enough to anchor things in a different way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, God wasn't smart enough to anchor things in a different way. He got stuck after creating all the animals. He was tired of making new designs, I guess. I don't know.
Go ahead, Nestle.
Oh, no worries. Like in the case of wisdom teeth, like to be fair, it turns out that like if you look at the humans before the agricultural revolution, like wisdom teeth, like impacted wisdom teeth were not a big issue. And the reason probably why is because we are like chewing on tough foods, and chewing on tough foods like makes like during early childhood, when you chew on pretty tough foods, it appears to aid in the development of your jaw. So when we like transitioned over to a soft food diet, then we get crowding of teeth happening.
Well, that's the point, right?
Yeah.
Asking why is this the way today doesn't answer the question of how it came to be that way. and your example is of how it came to be this way. But she's just saying like, oh, well, it aids in the. If she were to just say, oh, well, it aids in the formation of the jaw. Well, again, that doesn't really explain why this particular way, and also why do they often become impacted in people, like, for instance, they're not, well, if they erupted, they would be impacted for me, but like, she's
also
not really answering the question, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. And it's also true that we have the identical dental formula as the other apes, and also the exact same morphology of the especially the molars.
The
molars
that we pattern,
the Y5 molar pattern. Yes, the uniquely ape teeth. They are unique to apes.
Which again,
and we have them.
You would think God could literally design our teeth any other. He could design our molars any other way, but he chose to design them in her world the exact same way as all the other primates. Why? Just because.
Oh, it's specifically apes.
All the other apes.
Unique to the apes.
All the other apes. Yeah, God decided to design our molars in the exact same way as all the other apes, just because he thought it was fun. Why not?
Jimmy Akin, and I like Jimmy Akin. I don't want anybody to think I'm trashing Jimmy Akin. I'm bringing him up because he argues for that position, right? And
evolution.
It seems as if he has a bias towards that position. And for me, what I've started to realize over the last few months is that I have a bias towards young Earth creation now. And I want to have a bias towards it because the fathers were unanimous about a young Earth and all these things. So where I'm at right now is
didn't Augustine say not to take the biblical creation account literally?
Was created instantaneously by God when he does that in the act of creation. I'm still a little giving a little leeway to the age of the earth, only because when God says on the first day this, the first day that, God is not on the earth when he says that. So
pause.
Maybe not a literal.
Okay. I think that guy down there, the person commenting, I think that's the dude who was debating the Duck Dynasty guy, Jimmy Akin. I think that person, the Byzantine Scotist, is the person who was debating the other guy, the guy who talked about the Vit gene.
Yeah, he says so right there. Like I knew nothing about it, so I couldn't respond to Jimmy on the spot. Yeah, so it's probably.
But what's funny? What's so funny about this is he listened to Pamela say the wrong gene.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, this guy will probably not fact check her, and so he will come to believe that she is correct, probably.
This guy has me blocked on Twitter. LMAO. The Byzantine Scotist Gideon Lazar. Yep, I'm blocked.
Doesn't that remind me of maybe you argued with this guy a long time ago? Like I know something called Byzantine. Byzantine reminds me of a name, I believe. Yeah, Byzantine.
I've seen that name too.
I have talked to this guy before, but I don't. I wonder if I can find what would my conversation with. I can search my tweets. I can do that.
Yeah.
That depends on how far back you need to go, because Mr. Musk deleted most of our old tweets.
Did he? Okay,
yes.
Hold on. How do I search? Let's see.
If you search on your
engine, you can do specific searches on.
Well, hold on.
Individuals.
I know there's a way to search to see somebody's tweets. There's a particular way to insert it.
If you search on your username and his username, it should come up.
Do I go to? Isn't it advanced search? Isn't that what I go to?
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can pull up advanced search, and probably you can say like, tweet from this person towards this person. You can do that for example. Yeah.
Hold on. Let me.
Is unless Musk hasn't screwed Twitter too much. Assuming that, yeah.
Accounts from these accounts. That'd be from my account, I guess. At Jackson 1 what's the Byzantine Scotist Twitter? What's it called again? Hold on, let me look that up. Was it BizCat? I think BYZCAT. What's my Twitter again? What am I? Who am I? Why am I? Jackson Wheat 1. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Sorry.
Why is Jackson?
Why is Jackson? How? But nobody ever asks.
Why is Gamora?
Wait, shoot, hold on. Oh, BYZ. Oh, capital C. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Survey says search. No results from Jackson Wheat 1 to BizCat. Huh.
Maybe deleted, perhaps. Could be.
It could have. If it was too far back, yeah, it may have been deleted. I don't know. Really?
Like Byzantine something does ring a bell.
I think I've talked to this guy. I feel like I have at some point. I must have talked because he seems familiar. Like that handle seems familiar. Man, thanks Musk for deleting everything, moron. Include replies and original posts. Include posts with links. Man. From these accounts. That makes me so sad. That makes me so sad. I want to know if we talk to each other. Maybe it's not showing it. No, it would show my tweets. It should show my tweets. This is so frustrating. I'm sorry. I'm getting us off track. Okay. All right.
You talked to him in 2022. Yes.
Wait, how'd you find it? Does he have you blocked?
No, I just searched on your account name and his account name in Twitter, and then
maybe you can't find it because he has you blocked. Yeah.
And then check the latest. September 29, 2022.
Jackson.
He deleted his posts, by the way. But you responded to him. Baraminology is abject nonsense with no basis in science.
Oh, he did delete it. Oh my gosh, there it is. And then RJ argued with him also at some point. Okay, good lord, that was okay. We found it. Yay.
Yep.
That's so sad. I can't believe that.
And then you posted that he blocked you.
I blocked. Oh, okay. It's all coming back to me. It's all coming back. I do remember posting that he blocked me. I do remember that.
Yes,
we had like no interaction basically.
That was the tweet that got you blocked.
Since you don't follow me, I assume you found this tweet by searching Bearman on Twitter until you could find someone to start a debate with. Not interested. Enjoy the block. I didn't. That's right.
How many years ago was that?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Oh wait.
So
he didn't delete it. I can't see it because he blocked me too. Oh,
It says on mine it was deleted by the tweet author.
No. I'm
Okay. Can you give me the link in the private chat because I suspect maybe I'm not blocked.
Okay, hold on. I'll send it to you.
I can
now.
in the private chat.
Yeah, I got it. I got you. Copy the link. All right, there you go, Nestle. Okay, anyway. All right, let's keep going. We got a little bit further. We can
24-hour date. Now, it might be, and the more I research it, I might lean more towards that. But my bias is going to be towards leaning towards that 7-day literal creation because I want to be a faithful Catholic and I want... So what the point I'm making is that we should have our bias towards that, where obviously they have their bias.
First of all, again, and I have to repeat it like every time, the Pope says and has said for the past over 30 years now that evolution is fine, that there's no conflict between Catholicism and evolution. The Pope has said this. Multiple popes have said this. Like this idea that the only way to be a Catholic is to be a young earth creationist is just a lie. Like, it's not true. Also, I'm pretty sure St. Augustine and a few of the other fathers, church fathers, said that you shouldn't take Genesis as literal history because they came from other religions prior. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Also, I have pulled up the link, and I also cannot see the the tweet because, and I quote, "You're unable to view this post because this account owner limits who can view their post."
Are you blocked too?
No, but if you go to the actual link, you will see that it was removed by the owner. It's kind of weird that it says both things, but guess who replied to your tweet? A fun guy called Otangelo Grasso. Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. I muted him though. He's muted. I don't care. I don't want
Well, and I mean, the fun thing is, Otangelo will no longer be on Twitter at the moment. Because
because of Brazil. That's right.
It's banned in his country. And
it's so funny to me that
if he circumvents the ban, then he's liable for some harsh actions from his government. So I hope he does. We'll see.
Smitty says they should set up a rebel pope in Avignon. True. Okay, we can keep going.
As well, right? And you see how much they use that. They give themselves so much liberty that when something comes their way that contradicts it, they just shut it down and won't even hear it whatsoever. So
and come up with an ad hoc explanation. So you can, I got asked at a recent conference, you're saying that these people are biased in the way that they're looking at because it's reported sort of over and over and over again in the literature and all this and that. But how would you defend against somebody saying that you have a bias? And by the grace of God, I just looked at the person. I said, I have no incentive to say any of the things I'm saying.
Bull crap.
I will probably never work for another Catholic diocese as long as I live, because they can Google my name and they can find things like this, and they can say, "Oh, she's the young Earth creationist."
You're a radical.
We don't.
She's writing for creationist organizations and doing videos for creationist organizations. She's getting paid by creationist organizations. She's so full of crap. Oh my God. Garbage.
I smell conflict of interest.
Yep. No, not me. I am a totally unbiased observer. I'm just coldly and scientifically looking at the facts. I have no bias whatsoever. Doesn't the 9th commandment
hi team pool. I see some bags of money behind you.
Right, exactly. Doesn't the 9th commandment talk against bearing false witness?
Not a lot of Christians are aware that commandment exists, Jackson. Okay. I've noticed that.
I just had to make sure.
Yeah.
Maybe some bags of rubles.
Maybe that's why they want to post the 10 Commandments everywhere to remind people that
them?
Yes.
That's fair.
It would be one reason to allow it, I guess.
That's almost a good point, Peter.
Yes.
I hadn't considered that. Yeah. And whenever some intelligent design proponent wants to enter the classroom and just spout a pack of lies, the teacher can just point towards the 10 commandments and say, no, not allowed here, not allowed in this room.
I mean, you could put it up in science class. That would be very helpful. Because
no bearing false witness.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My God, I can't stand how smarmy she is. Good Lord.
Yeah, we don't really want to listen to anything else that she has to say or any.
Google your name, but not the VIT gene.
Right.
Wait, just hold on that for a second, because just think about how preposterous of a state we're in the church, where if they Google your name, they'll see the things that you did during the pandemic, and they'll see that you're a young Earth creationist, and that will take the modern Catholic mind and make them that is preposterous to me, and that's why I want to keep having these conversations.
Wait,
because
pause
as
for a
Catholics,
second.
they're like,
I want to give, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say it. I want to give the Catholic Church some credit in this case, because any institution that sees that she's a young Earth creationist and that she's, trying to convince people to not take a life-saving vaccine. Any institution that looks at her and says, we don't want her working with us, is fine with me. You know what? I can look past. Okay, I can't look past all the kitty diddling stuff, but listen, I at least appreciate that they made that decision in her case. I appreciate it. It fills me with a little bit of hope for humanity that they can see how crazy she is and how biased she is and how terrible she is, or how terrible her ideas are, and they can say,
right, clock.
Right, yeah,
all right, clock. I know you're broken, but at least you give the correct time at least twice a day. Yes.
Correct. You gotta credit where credit is due. I have to give credit where credit is due. I can't not. He's surprised that the Catholic Church checks notes, holds its members accountable for endangering the public. Yes, I am. I have to credit where credit's due. I got to give credit. Okay. Anyway, we can keep going.
Is this what hope feels like?
There aren't, given the state of society today, there aren't too many times when I'm happy when I hear the news about big institutions. So when there is good news, I welcome it, honestly. So okay, anyway, we can keep going.
We're trying to stay where Catholics have always been, and it seems like Catholics are just being dragged in this other direction. And there are some things about evolution that Catholics believe that you are actually going against, like statements of faith, like defeat a statements. You're contradicting if you don't believe Adam and Eve were two literal persons. That is very problematic if people really think that the only thing that happens is that's when the human soul.
Well, actually, pause for a second. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nestle. Doesn't Swamidass say that Adam and Eve were people, but they were people as part of a population? Isn't that part of Swamidass's thing?
I'm not sure. Like I know he has some views about Adam and Eve. Like I think I remember him saying that Adam and Eve are technically possible, but I don't know his reasoning. I'm not familiar.
I don't remember, and I could be wrong. If anybody is there in the live chat who's watching me, and you feel free to call me out on it. I think he wrote a book where he allows for Adam and Eve to have been people within the human population, which, as we pointed out in the Tasmanian's Tale, if you go back far enough in the history of a population, you get to first you get to the last common ancestor of the population, and then if you approximately double that, you get to what's called the identical ancestors point, where basically every individual is either the ancestor of the entire population or they're an ancestor of no one. And if you guys want to hear more about that, go watch the Tasmanian's Tale. And so in some sort of sense, yeah, I mean, you could, if you put Adam and Eve as they could be, if you put them before the identical ancestors point, then that would mean they were an ancestor of everyone who's alive today. So that is possible. Again, like I said, I don't quite know how he writes that argument. That's his thing. I don't care, honestly. I don't think Adam and Eve were real people, and I don't see any reason to try to shoehorn them into history. But that's just me.
Well, at least it does explain where Cain and Abel's wives come from.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we'll get a little bit more, and then we'll call it.
Yes. All right.
It's just very problematic in my point of view. So, including well-known and what did Gideon say, Rob? Many theologians have told me in private that they agree with young Earth creation, but can't publicly endorse it for that reason. I'm sure. Yeah, it's sad. I want to get the conversation going, and I know we're a small show, but I think the people that listen to us should be exposed to hearing you're not crazy for even looking into these things, and don't let people that think the other way bully you into thinking you're an idiot.
Well, crazy, no. Well, they're not crazy. I wouldn't say that. I would say they are misinformed. That's what I would say.
I just Googled a little. Swamidass presents a scenario in which the special creation of Adam and Eve thousands of years ago happens on a parallel track with evolution.
Okay, but I mean, I don't know how they like factor into the human population. Like, I don't know how that works. That's what I'm curious about.
It's the part
I don't know if he thinks that like it was like just Adam and Eve. I don't think so. I genuinely don't know. I don't know how he frames that argument, so I'm not gonna. I don't know. Also, and see that's what I dislike about this sort of thing is they're saying, oh, they think we're crazy if we think this. No, you're not crazy. Well, at least I don't think anybody on this panel is crazy. I think they are all severely misinformed. They have a particular view of the world that overshadows all of the other beliefs that they could potentially have, and as a result of that, they have incorrect beliefs about the world. That doesn't make them crazy. They are capable of learning what is correct and taking that new information in and adding it as part of their worldview or whatever. But it would take a lot for them to do that, right? Because for one, Pamela, for instance, has a vested interest in spreading creationism because she works for creationist organizations, so she has a vested interest in doing that now. So if she were to say one day, like, "Oh, hey guys, I found out evolution is actually true," she would no longer make that money. That just wouldn't be a thing for her anymore. That wouldn't be a source of income. These guys, I have no idea. I don't know anything about them. I don't know what their background is. So who's to say? They might just be wrong. It might be that they're. Well, I don't know if all of them are dishonest. Pamela is absolutely dishonest. I have no idea if Anthony and Rob here are dishonest. I don't know anything about them, so I do not know. I guess we can call it on the.
Jackson, I can clarify a little bit more.
Okay.
So, historically, that's what the interview says. Historically, we believe that Adam and Eve are the ancestors of everyone. We can ask, does this mean genetic ancestors or genealogical ancestors? Well, Scripture can't possibly be talking about genetic ancestry. It has to be talking about genealogical ancestry. So
that could be the Adam and Eve were just created as part of the human population.
Yes.
It's kind of what that sounds like. Okay. Well, which again, like, okay, if you want to believe that, fine, whatever. I don't care. It's fine. That's fine with me. Okay. Can we go back to the 3 screens, please?
We certainly can.
Also, I'm wondering about something.
I'm the infinite
Jackson. Where did Jackson go?
The infinite Jackson.
If you strike me down, I will become far more powerful than you can imagine.
We need to go there. There we go.
Also, I'm wondering if Peter can ascertain how many minutes did we cover this time.
Oh Lord, I'm afraid to
I think less than 5 minutes.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I can.
Yeah.
I can.
Oh God, I'm scared.
36 minutes and 23 seconds, and we started.
Wait, really?
And we started at 25 minutes and about 20 seconds.
Oh, so we covered 11 minutes.
11 minutes.
11 minutes. So I did underestimate at least the time that we covered.
We only have an hour, 8 minutes, and 41 seconds to go.
Okay. All right. At least we can't get demonetized for these like we did with the Joe Rogan show. So,
yes.
All right. I guess
it is keeping us from a very, very nice video that I have watched part of it because I had to artificially enhance its quality a little.
Yeah.
The next one up, Jackson, the one that you got a CD. I think it was a CD.
Oh, the CD, yes, from Camilla. She gave me a CD that is his Haran Yaya video on it, where yeah, so we get to watch that next. That's going to be fun.
It brought back Potholer 54 memories for me because of the music. Potholer did a video about Hovind's video, the Hovind theory, which starts with some pompous music and then he goes over top of the music. Ta 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 ta. That this one does exactly the same. I think we should add that part in. Have Potholer overtalk it.
Right. You know what? Let's get Potholer on to do this. Let's have him on.
That would be brilliant.
I actually have no idea if that's even possible. I have zero idea. I don't know. He's like a journalist, isn't he?
Yes. Well,
yeah, I have no idea.
I know a guy who recently had him on his channel.
Shoot, you know what? I'll do it. I'll send him an email and see if he's interested in coming on.
And if it doesn't work, let me know. Every weekend I produce for some obscure guy. His email's not on his channel because I've tried to look for it.
In the live chat DM, how readest thou Wing? Says the Hovind theory.
He's not an Aussie. He is an import. He is from UK origin.
That's right. Yeah. Do you guys remember that whole bit where Potholer was supposed to debate Steven Crowder, but Crowder chickened out? You guys remember that?
No.
Yeah. Crowder, yes.
And Cower with Crowder. And then nobody talks about Crowder anymore. He basically fell off after the whole divorce thing came out. He was always just a grifter. And so he just completely fell off. I don't think anybody cares about his stuff anymore. He's kind of like Dave Rubin in that regard. Like, he was popular for a little bit, and then once the novelty of it kind of wore off, everyone just stopped caring. So I think he kind of falls into that sort of area.
Did you find his email, Jackson?
No, I'll check it after we close the stream. Okay, well, speaking of, thank you everybody for watching. The next scripted video to come out on this channel is going to be the Fruit Fly's Tale, and I will script that, and then we'll edit it and do all the normal stuff once I finish editing Rock's Volume 2, Chapter 2. So once I do that, we'll put out the Fruit Fly's Tale.
How many chapters are there going to be in Rock's 2?
Volume 2? 7, just like the first book.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured we'll just do 7. Just again, why not? RJ and I, we actually talked a couple weeks ago just about how to structure the book. So we got that all hammered out. It's going to be exciting. I'm very excited for it. All right. So thank you, Neslig and Peter, for being here with me today. And then thank you, everybody in the live chat, for watching. Really appreciate it. We will see all of you next time. So bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye all.